Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about the July monthly horoscope. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the aspects in general, and then I'm going to go through each sign and talk more specifically about the aspects and what house this is going to affect, what the environment will be for you specifically. This is important because we have some very powerful energies shifting this month. We have the nodes for the first time in a year and a half going into the Aries Libra axis, which is the axis about me versus we. And I think that's been teed up with the nodes as they were traveling through the Taurus and Scorpio axis. Taurus being, how do I use my skills and my voice and create my own sense of wealth and security, versus Scorpio, where we can inadvertently give up our power or allow ourselves to be overly controlled by our fears, which then dictate our behaviors. Before I start, I just want to mention that this is based on your rising sign. So when I'm talking about one of the signs like Aries, I'm talking about the house structure, it will be based on Aries rising. If you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet, and all you need is your time and location of birth in order to get that information. Also, this is based on whole sign Western astrology. If I was doing a chart for you personally, I would look at it in Placidus. I do believe the degrees are very significant in giving us more in-depth information about the soul's intention for this lifetime. And I believe that as a collective, we have chosen this period to elevate our awareness about our co-creation within the universe. So I'm going to jump right in right now. Again, I'm going to talk about the general aspects, and then I will go into the specific signs. So first, today is July 1st, 2023. And today we see the Sun and Mercury conjunct in the sign of Cancer. This is kind of interesting because here in the United States, it's a holiday weekend. We're celebrating the 4th of July, and it is a big family kickoff for the summer months. So Mercury ruling our neighborhoods, our communities, our everyday activities. Cancer ruling the sign of home and hearth and of our homeland, our land of origin. And of course, the sun is how we project ourselves, how we identify ourselves out into the world. So this conjunction will make us be thinking a lot about home and hearth, and even maybe having a feeling of thinking about what our idealized version of home and hearth is. We have a trine from the Sun and Mercury to Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter is going to spend about a year in Taurus, and right now Jupiter is at 9 degrees, which is making an exact sextile to the Sun. So this could very much having you traveling home for the holiday. It could have you thinking a lot about the ideologies and the experiences and beliefs that your family and your homeland and your growing up environment, how that affected you and imprinted certain things upon you. We also see the Sun and Mercury making a trine to Saturn at 7 degrees retrograde in Pisces. So this again is sextiles and trines are favorable aspects. Jupiter rules our beliefs, and Saturn rules our history. It rules our history as a collective. And here we see Cancer ruling the sign of the home of origin. So there may be a lot of thoughts about, especially as the nodes are getting to the last degree, almost at 0 degrees of the Taurus Scorpio axis, you could very much be reflecting on how you have evolved, how maybe some of the disruptive energies you experienced as a child actually served a greater purpose for you. And now I think this could be very much giving you a feeling of of optimism, of applying a sense of wisdom, and also a sense of feeling as if maybe because Saturn rules the karma and Jupiter rules expansion, you could actually start to feel Saturn's reward side as you've integrated your experiences and even your own imprint of thought. Mercury can rule our thought, what we speak, and what we do without, on some level, a great level of consciousness. It's kind of, I think of Mercury as like Twitter. Short bits of information traveled around very quickly, versus where Jupiter is a deeper dive into information and education. So here I think there's a possibility for a real sense of awareness that feels favorable and transformative. We also see on today, Mars and Venus are traveling together. They're both in Leo. Mars is at 24 degrees of Leo and Venus is at 21 degrees of Leo, both making a favorable aspect to Chiron in Aries. I think this is really powerful because Chiron is the wound transformed. It is the gift. It is a healing energy. It is an energy of wisdom and of a sense of surrender, because Chiron was born into a dynamic that he really could do nothing about. He was born to rejection and abandonment, even, as just a brief infant. His mother was aghast by his appearance as a centaur. And so here, there's a sense of reconciliation as Mars is standing in a brave energy and Venus is saying, what will I really believe about myself? Here in Leo, we're talking about courage of the heart. We're talking about the privileges we give ourselves to start to reinvent ourselves. Leo is naturally the fifth house. So as we go through the first four houses, we're very influenced by our early childhood upbringing, the homes that we lived in, the nurturing we received from our parents. As we get into the fifth house, we start to take that energy and express it into the outside world. It's why we talk about the fifth house being the performer, where other people are really seeing our gifts, our talents, our hobbies, our interests. And we have the potential here to, with Aries being Mars's natural ruler and Chiron in Aries, there's an opportunity to implement the hero energy, the brave energy of Mars's willingness to look at how the wound serves the expansion and the ability to feel a sense of footing as we step out into the world. Venus, my voice, my personal artistry, meaning, Venus rules art and beauty and makeup and our homes, interior design, everything that's warm and cozy and fun and feels like a sense of luxury and comfort. And I always think of a big old blanket on a cold night by a fire. That feels very Venusian to me. And here, this would be Venusian with a little bit of Mars's fire and Chiron in Aries, lighting a fire that warms me and illuminates me as to how to transform my previous situation, my previous experiences into a gift. I want to also mention that Venus and Chiron are both going retrograde on the 23rd of July. And I'm going to go into a little bit more in depth about that because I believe that this is very powerful dynamic as they will continue to have a conversation throughout the month. And the same day that they go retrograde, the nodes will officially move into the Aries Libra axis. On July 2nd, we have Mars and Venus are still in a conjunction, but this time we're going to experience a square, an exact square to Uranus and Taurus. Venus is at 21 degrees, Uranus is at 21 degrees, and here is Mars at 25 degrees in Leo. So what we see here is the potential of a disruptive day in relationships, in the dynamics between men and women. Venus is still trining Chiron during this period of time. And so what I think there may be is the potential of, there's a couple ways this could go. if we've been sitting in an energy of kind of fooling ourselves, kind of wanting things to change and hoping they'll change on the outside, but I'm not really participating with my shifting on the inside, this dynamic between Mars and Venus squaring Uranus could very much create a disruption, create an upset, create an argument. It can also very much liberate from an oppressive situation. It can also very much bring an epiphany of some sort of creative idea out of nowhere. And you may feel a little bit like this thing feels completely different from something you've ever done, or maybe it's even this creative inspiration feels a little bit like it's exposing a personal part of yourself. Again, the Leo energy is the heart. And that's the challenge of Leo, is exposing that heart and feeling vulnerable to other people's opinion about how I express myself. A lot of content creators know how that feels. But here, I really think that when we're experiencing square energy as the individual experiencing it, it's an opportunity to really look at how I have habitual habits of thought and behavior and beliefs. And when I'm going through transformation, there's a tense energy between the old and the new. And here, I think that's what Uranus is representing. At 21 degrees, we're looking at the Sagittarian degree, the degree of my beliefs, of, again, diversity, going into a whole new philosophy and ideologies and thoughts about what I can and cannot experience on this planet. And that's what I think that the Taurus Scorpio axis with the nodes has been offering us. As we move into the Aquarian age, we will become more aware of the energy beings that we are, and that our thoughts are the co-creators with the universe. Our thoughts reflect our beliefs and our emotional body, and they're reflected in our conversation, in the things that we submerge ourselves in when we read, when we watch the media. All of these things are mercurial. So as we become more aware of those and intentional in our choices of our words and the vibrations that words ripple out into the universe, we will be more, honestly, we'll be more prosperous. Those that are aware and start implementing this dynamic, rather than judging what has been before, they'll use it as a platform to step up in a very solid way as they move into later and later chapters of their life, and they're more abundant and they're prospering, not just financially, but physically, mentally, emotionally, within our relationships. That's what this new nodal axis is bringing in. It's really very fabulous. I also want to say this, that while Venus is still trining Chiron, my experience has been that sometimes a disruption exposes a wound that we thought we had flattened. And I think that's where I've always sat in a weird energy of thinking I could get over something. And that's when Spirit started to nudge me towards integration. As I realized that sometimes the dark spots in my life have made the color in my life more vibrant, more exciting, more illuminating, I've started to stretch myself beyond my own personal frustrations into looking for the wisdom within the disruption. So if you have, any sort of disruptions involving your social activities this weekend, that would be Venusian. Anything involving romance, Leo. Anything involving when I look at the Taurus energy, it could very well be something creative. But I also want to offer this, because if your plans for some reason get disrupted, there could be a divine hand on that as well, to offer a more comfortable and pleasurable experience. All right, let's go on to the 6th. We will see the nodes at the 0 degree of Taurus and Scorpio. And I think this is very powerful, because this is the very last energy that we'll experience in this way for a very, very long time, because the next time the nodes go into the Scorpio-Taurus axis, the North Node will be in Scorpio. So we're really getting an opportunity to rebirth something. That 0 degree is very much this om of birthing something into the universe. I think it will give us an opportunity to be aware of any of the unconscious psychological blocks that have kept us from really allowing ourselves to blossom, allowing ourselves to expand. I think that there's going to be a sense of newness and a sense of new confidence within our own skills, within our ability to create, within our resources. And I think that's going right back to what I was saying about the idea that as we enter further and further into the chapters of the human experience and we become more aware of our thoughts, our things, we're going to become so much more influential over our experiences. And those of us that catch on quickly and implement this energy will stand as leaders for others, and not because we've turned towards them to tell them come this way, but others will want these experiences and they will say, how did you do it? And you will say, I didn't do anything. I was just aware of my being energy, what I was believing about myself, what I was giving myself permissions to do, and where I was putting my expectations on my value. So I think this is super powerful, because whatever has walked through the Taurus Scorpio axis for the last year and a half, I believe that the Taurus energy has had an opportunity to root. Taurus rules, the fields and plowing the fields and growing things and food and sustainable things. So I think this is very powerful. And I think the South Node has given us a sense of connection to the divine when we have seen relationships or dynamics erode or they've changed. Maybe we've lost some relationships, but there is a wisdom and a growth and an opening for new, more aligned dynamics to come in, meaning, not being codependent upon another, being freer within our bodies to enjoy intimacy and sex. I mean, the South Node was going through a sign that is so savory and so rich with opportunities. I mean, it rules the commingling of our bodies, the commingling of our money, the commingling of the deepest parts of who and what we are as we expose those layers in everyday life with another person. Okay, now we go on to the 18th, when we're going to see at least the 18th in the Pacific. The nodes are going to change into this very karmic dynamic. Aries representing the self, the pioneering self, the hero self, and the South Node representing the balancing of other people's energies with my own. And I thought I had a couple of songs come to mind when I was writing my recap. And I want to offer this because Aries is very individualistic. Chiron is going to go retrograde in Aries. Chiron has been in Aries for a while. So whatever has been going on in your house of Aries, you're going to see yourself sort of transforming that wound that has held you into anger and frustration into something really beautiful. And then Venus is going to be traversing, or I should say retrograding, in Leo. And again, this is heart and courage. So I wanted to offer you, for the Venus energy, to listen to the song by Heart, Listen to My Heart. It's a rock song from the 80s. And then there's Chiron's retrograde song was Hero by Mariah Carey. Both of them came to me in my meditation. And if you haven't heard those songs, you can Google them and probably listen to them on YouTube, but they feel very poignant and pertinent to what we'll be walking through. Venus will be retrograde from July 23rd to September 4th, and Chiron will be retrograde from July 23rd until December 27th. So this is very powerful. Okay, now we have Mars will enter Virgo. Actually, Mars enters Virgo on the 9th, and it will stay in Virgo until the 27th. So we're going to see a real, probably a real push to get things done. You could take your health by the horns and be like, okay, this is when I'm going to do that cleanse. This is when I'm going to detox myself from people who make my mind crazy, or at least, take a step back from them and do my own thing. We also have Mercury trining Neptune on this day, and I think this could really bring in a conversation with spirit, where, you know, the idea of Mars entering Virgo could also be where I have enslaved myself to dynamics that really have started to stoke a part of me that's not where I want to go. That Mars energy, that anger, that frustration, that impatience, you know. And then we see this dreamy potential conversation with spirit saying, you know what, help me to be to see the wisdom of all of the reasons I might be frustrated. Am I checked into my ego? Am I overly delivering to someone else? Am I not allowing my individuality in this Virgo energy to feel a sense of I'm working for myself? Or am I feeling enslaved to another? And Mercury trining Neptune on that same day is saying, well, let's think about this and think about how you could implement who you are and what you are in a new way. And I kind of want to offer it this way, because spirit may say you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And that'll be really fun for the Mars energy. Wink. On the 11th, Mercury will follow Venus into Leo. And I think that this is going to bring a lot of fun, especially knowing that Venus is going to retrograde. So they'll meet up as Mercury books its way through Leo. I think this is going to be a lot of conversations about the things that artistry, about, you know, maybe I'm going to want to you know, start putting my thoughts down on paper and start liking what I'm writing, because I've really been working on that while the North Node was in Taurus. And so I feel like this is a really good time to start to take my creativity, what I want to do with fun, my hope and faith and romance, and kick it up a notch. We do have on the 12th, the Sun in Cancer will be squaring Chiron in Aries. This might be just a little bit of a day where there is this feeling of, you know, sometimes I think that our wound in Aries is that we don't feel seen. We don't feel our true self is seen. Just the label, you're a warrior, you're angry, you're this, you're that, you know, and it's unpleasant. So here I think there may be a little bit of that feeling exasperated, and it may even be with the Sun in Cancer have to do with people not seeing an emotional part of you, who you really are at the core of who you are, the home of who you are. And there could be a sense of frustration coming up. On the 17th, we have a new moon in Cancer. I'm going to hopefully do I say hopefully because I have all the best laid plans, but every month I seem to be changing the format. So anyway, going to do a new moon video. This will be involving our home, our properties, our intuitiveness, our ability to heal ourselves, both emotionally, spiritually, physically, and relationship-wise. On the 20th, Mars will be in Virgo in opposition to Saturn retrograde in Pisces. This could be a day where historic arguments come up, okay, or you know, those hamster wheel conversations we have with certain people. And Saturn is going to actually ask you on some level to maybe think about a new way of being. And that new way of being could be to approach a situation more gently, with more compassion, with more empathy. That would be very Neptunian, very Pisces. It could also ask you if you're somehow approaching the situation exactly the same way and then getting frustrated because the situation is not changing and you're not able to see your own participation within that. Virgo can be a little bit challenging because it'll be more focused on the process, the analysis, the getting the job done versus the emotionalness. And I really think that the perfect combination for manifestation is an awareness of the integration of our emotions and our thoughts. So process without relationship is really not as enjoyable, and relationship without a journey is not as enjoyable. I know that if you think about that for a minute, it'll make more sense. Okay, so on the 23rd, we see our lovely Venus and Chiron go retrograde. So I think that's very important to pay attention, because Venus ultimately rules our self-worth. You know, if she rules our beauty, if we're considered beautiful, we have self-worth. If we think we're not beautiful, we don't have self-worth. If we, you know, have a certain skill and we are criticized for our singing voice, for our craftsmanship, for our ability to knit, or, you know, whatever we're doing, and then we feel diminished. So here we're really seeing the idea of individualizing ourselves from other people's opinions of us, because the investment in other people's opinions kicks in the law of attraction, which brings those opinions to us that we don't appreciate or that we don't resonate with. So as we individualize ourselves in a way that feels exciting and inspirational and passionate, then we draw in energies that are similar to our own and accept our uniqueness, or celebrate our individuality, and are not threatened by it. So I really feel like this is, again, another component of moving into this Aquarian age that we are starting to recognize within our energy bodies, and then birthing into our physical experience. The 22nd of July through around the 25th, we will see the sun making an opposition to Pluto in Capricorn. We also know that at that time, Pluto is squaring the nodes. And I think this is important because the sun is how we identify ourselves in the outside world, how, you know, it's sort of how we think people perceive us. That's kind of how we hope people perceive us. Maybe it's better said that way. Here, as the sun is moving from Cancer to Leo, and making an out of sign opposition, because at first it's in the Cancer energy, it's on the axis, and then as it moves into Leo, it's a bit out of the axis. I feel like this is very important because Venus will be at 28 degrees of Leo retrograde, making a quincunx to Pluto, a blind spot, a spot we don't see. So this could bring up a bit of an unconscious sense of self-worth. It's almost as if, let's just give an example. You've been kicking butt, you've been doing what you want, you've been getting a lot of applause, and everybody's been saying you're great at whatever you're birthing of your own creativity. And then all of a sudden, you know, people start getting critical. Trolls start coming in, you know, the haters, you know, stoke up. This is really an opportunity for you to, if you have a reaction versus an action, an intentional response, then you have a piece of information. So that piece of information now gives you an opportunity to reconcile a situation. On the 25th, the moon is going to be conjunct the South Node in Libra. And again, this is an emotional energy. The South Node is an egoless energy, and Libra is a diplomatic energy. It's a harmonic energy. It is a peaceful energy. So here, as you sort of surrender to whatever this few days illuminates for you, then that surrender is not about giving up. It's about surrendering to reacting and choosing intentionally to integrate the information with awareness rather than criticism. Because there's an ongoing sextile between Neptune and Pluto. And this is going to go on for quite some time. Neptune will have turned retrograde, been at 27 degrees for quite some time, and now Pluto retrograde. So there's an opportunity to have a rebirth through your spiritual inspirations. And I kind of want to break it down like this, because for me personally, as an Aries rising, I've walked through disruptive energies or people behaving certain ways. And while I was not enjoying the experience of the interaction, my awareness of who and what I want to be versus who and what I have been, and then intentionally reacting to something versus unconsciously reacting made me very happy at the end of the disruption, because I could see my own evolution. I could see the roots of the new me getting deeper and deeper. And then the parts of myself that I'm not enjoying starting to be less important or less influential or less up in my face. So I think this is really powerful. On the 26th, we're going to see Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde. And again, this is having this blind spot conversation with Pluto. So, you may even find things in your environment with your teammates, your workmates, things in your neighborhood, your siblings may bubble up unexpectedly. And yet at the same time, anytime a disruption anytime a disruption is experienced right now, it is offering you an opportunity to see yourself actually live out the evolved version of yourself, thereby starting to really build a stronger momentum. And I mean, it's exciting news. It's exciting news because you're going to get a stronger platform to walk on this earth with. Mars, we end the month with Mars at 13 degrees Virgo, making a trine to Jupiter at 13 degrees Taurus. And I think this could really be where you start to feel, if you're birthing a new career or birthing a new idea, or let's say you've got a day job and you're opening an Etsy account, or you want to start a Patreon account or something like that, I feel like you're going to start to see the viability of that, start to see the viability of money coming in, resources coming in, support coming in. And all of this feels also as if you start, because the conjunction with Venus and Mercury a few days earlier feels as if it gives me a piece of information that I can take this and capitalize on with this trine. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mars is traveling through this sign of enslavement, where we're enslaved to our jobs. We don't like them, but they pay the bills. We're enslaved to our ill health. So there may be something that happens here where you really start to birth a new version of yourself. And it could even be where you're birthing new eating habits, health routines, fueling your body versus feeding your body. You could go from a vegan or from a vegetarian to a vegan. You could start playing around with alternative ways of supporting your body, so that when you start feeling the excitement of all you're creating, your body is in good shape to enjoy that experience. All right, so let's quickly, I say. I'm not sure it'll be quickly, but we'll see. Let's start with our Aries. We're going to talk about what houses the retrograde is going to be in, meaning the Venus retrograde. And we're going to talk about Venus retrograde and Chiron's retrograde. When I talk about the houses, I think that's very important. And we're going to talk a little bit about the nodal structure. So this month, as Venus is in your 5th house, Venus is, again, rules relationships, rules partnerships, rules partnerships of the professional kind, as well as partnerships of the intimate kind. It rules civil servants like attorneys and the city council members and people that uphold the law and serve policemen, people like that. And I feel as if when I'm talking about Venus, okay, I went a little bit, when I went to the civil servants, it seems a little funky that I went there, because the 5th house is all about romance and fun and creativity and children, the conception of children, acting like a clown, comedy, laughing, playing games. But where I was going with this is that I feel like Venus, who is the ruler of your 7th house, where the nodes are going, okay, and where the ruler of your 2nd house as well, where the north node has been, is giving you an opportunity as she retrogrades through your 5th house to really start to implement, or potentially you've already started to implement some things that you want to experience. And now there's a fine tuning going on. This is a really long retrograde where she's going all the way back till 12 degrees of Leo. And this could bring back old lovers in your life very easily. It could bring back old creative projects or partners or collaborators. It could bring back people who you may have worked with and you thought that the partnerships were pretty good. And now maybe they've taken a little bit of a break and now they're being revisited. And in the revisit, Aries, you get to sort of look at whether or not you really believe the dynamic between you and the other person has shifted. Because if you're getting a little nervous and you want a partner and you want someone to feel a sense of flow with, because, you know, just because you're an Aries doesn't mean you like to do everything by yourself. So there you go. But this is what I want to say, because I think it's going to be a real opportunity for you to look and see during this retrograde period about how you implement your diplomatic skills in communicating yourself, your truth, your unique expression, what is important to you when it comes to romance, when it comes to your future. Okay, this fifth house is the house that when we pick a partner, if you pick a Debbie Downer partner, you're not going to have a lot of fun. And so my whole point is that it's a review about those fifth house dynamics and an opportunity, rather than getting mad or moving too quickly through it, to actually think about the long-term opportunities to experience fun and romance and laughter with the people in your life, not just an intimate partner. I think that's very important. We have the nodes, when they move, are going to be in the first house for you and the seventh house. And I've been talking a lot about that. You know, I believe this access is about two me's make a we. So while being cooperative in a relationship is very important, having your sense of individuality, to have a partner who celebrates your individuality, to have people around you that allow you to expand and grow beyond the labels of angry and assertive and harsh and, you know, taking no prisoners. Sometimes, you know, Aries can get such a bad rap. We can really move into that hero energy here. And we're going to experience that nodal access for quite some time. But as we move into it immediately, it's in the Leo degree. So now I go back to the idea that Venus is retrograde in your fifth house. Chiron is retrograding in your first house. So the wound of self and how you express yourself and how you interpret that with in relation to other people is all up for grabs. And it's going to feel this month and throughout the beginning of the second half of this year, it's going to feel very, I want to say powerful, but I'm not sure it's powerful because an experience is coming to me as much as I feel like my awareness is stoked up. And the awareness that I'm talking about is an awareness that is asking me to how much value I have in myself, how much I actually believe in the viability of my own hopes, my own dreams, my own sense of self being birthed into the 3D world. What else did I want to talk about? Venus and Chiron is important. And I want to go even a little bit further into the Chiron energy, because Chiron is going to retrograde from 19 degrees to 15 degrees. So this energy is going to be pretty much having a conversation with Venus throughout most of her retrograde. And then as she moves forward in September, Chiron will still be retrograde. So the awarenesses that you give yourself, the awarenesses without the criticism, the awarenesses without the yeah, but I wish I would have done it sooner, or whatever regret you may have, will actually help unravel the illusions much quicker. And I want to offer this too, because with Saturn traveling through your 12th house of Pisces, I really think for my Aries, this is an opportunity to Saturn is currently retrograde and will continue through your 12th house until 2026. And I think this is the transformation to the peaceful warrior, to the spiritual steward or shepherd, to the hero versus the heathen. And I say that because I think of the warrior out of control as the one that goes into the village, rapes and pillages, and doesn't care for human life. And I think we're rewriting that story. Okay, so for my Tauruses, Leo is your 4th house. Aries is your 12th house. And I say this because Leo, again, Venus is retrograding in Leo. Chiron will be retrograding in Aries. And so I think that whatever the 12th house rules history, ancestral history, karmic history, your soul's history. The 4th house rules the imprint of this lifetime, our early childhood experiences, and if we were nurtured, if we felt loved, if we felt valued and appreciated. The North Node is currently exiting your 1st house. Any of the early born Tauruses will be feeling this ravenous energy to birth that new part of yourself. And I believe that Venus is retrograde through your 4th house and Chiron going through your 12th house. Now they're making a positive aspect to each other because they want to support your transformation, the final push over the nodal structure to allow you to feel freer in your movements and your manifestations. And when I say movements, I mean movements of the heart, movements of, again, whenever we're talking about, well, Venus is your ruling planet, first of all. And Venus rules creativity, singing, crafting, painting, sculpting, all of those beautiful things that make us feel a sense of beauty and harmony and peace around ourselves. So here, I think that you're going to have an opportunity to look at that experience, your early upbringing, your childhood, your parental dynamic, your family dynamic. And I think you're going to be able to capitalize on that now. I feel like the South Node transiting through your 7th house has not only been affecting your intimate partnerships, but, if we overlay the 7th house with peace and harmony and diplomacy, then this has been an opportunity to let go of anything, or to, I should say, release anything. Those words actually really stick in my throat because I don't know if it's easy to release or to let go, but rather I want to say integrate, which is also a 7th house thing, integration with compassion, the experiences you had in your Scorpio energy, and Scorpio 7th house energy. Because to me, now as the nodes are moving into that 12th, 6th house, the South Node moving into your 6th house of Libra is it's allowing for the toxic energy in your life to be eliminated. And some of that may be through toxic relationships within your thinking process, within your work environment, or where you've been enslaved in a work environment. And the North Node, having gone through your 1st house for so long, makes me feel as if you've already been practicing, again, birthing a part of yourself that feels like you're using your skills. And it's very exciting. And if there's been anything that is, if we have the deeper levels and layers of blocks or of thoughts, the Pluto is exposing those now as Pluto retrogrades back into Capricorn, which is your 9th house of beliefs. So these are the big points for me this month is really the nodes shifting and the Venus and Chiron conversation as Venus retrogrades. I think that's super powerful. All right. Gemini, Leo is your 3rd house. And this is where Venus is going to be retrograding in your house of thoughts, in your house of conversation, of social networks. But I don't really mean the internet here. I mean the interactions you have with the moms at the school and the kids in the schoolyard and the people that you interact with within your neighborhoods, the people at the market, the people at the drugstore, and the mail, I forget how to say it. the mail office, whatever that word, the post office. Hello. Boy, I can't even think as I talk about the third house. But I want to offer it this way because Gemini, I think that this is all about going into your heart chakra. I think Venus is really kind of trying to pull you out of your brain and move you into your heart and in what's important to you, in how you would like to spend your everyday life, and how would you like to spend, the time thinking. What do you enjoy? Where do you want to put that energy so that you can start to rewrite your personal experiences? Because that third house can represent a little bit of work as we get older. It traditionally represents our siblings and our cousins and what we watch on TV and our emails, etc. But here I'm thinking it's more with the house of Leo. It's about how do I want to spend that day and how can I creatively and enjoy myself in my everyday life. And when I look at Aries being your 11th house, where the North Node is entering, this is another very social house. It is a house of expansion, meaning it rules large systems, right? And having it be Aries, it's like this opportunity to be a pioneer in these energies that will be touched by, or you could potentially touch many people through your own personal everyday experience. This could be very, very powerful. It's also, I want to offer this too for my Geminis. If you have thought about wanting to, if part of what your hopes and dreams are is to birth a child, as I don't know why I'm getting the intuitive hit that you could bring a child into this world over the next, say, year and a half or so, because as the nodal structure is in your 11th and 5th house, meaning the Aries North Node in your 11th house and the South Node in your 5th house, there could be this opportunity for you to be egoless in how you conceive a child and allow yourself to focus on the joy of raising a child. So it could come through adoption, it could come through IV or some sort of technology. There could be something going on there. And even if it's not a child, it could be an individual aspect of your own creativity, and the same principles apply. So this idea of being egoless to how the process works, that's where I was going with the South Node in your 5th house, is really not looking at whether all the elements look good to everybody on the outside, but does it look good to you on the inside? Is it truly authentic, the experiences that you're having, the people that you're interacting with? And I want to offer this because if you're of a certain age and you think you're aging out for some reason, or you think, I'm, slim pickings here for romance, this is a self-defeating thought. And it also kicks in the laws of attraction, which here's Leo in your 3rd house of thought, right? So you being able to connect with the idea that it doesn't matter when this person shows up in my life, I'm going to start to muse on how much fun we'll have, how much joy this person will bring, and how much of a joyful exchange we'll have. Again, everything is coming down to us as humans recognizing the power of our thoughts. Our thoughts are things. This is an energetic universe. It is a harmonic universe. So the words that we speak literally ripple out into the universe, and they bring experiences back into our everyday lives. And as we're aware of that, we can start to shift our thoughts and how we're thinking. Now, we have Chiron making an aspect to Venus. Chiron will be in your 11th house, Venus in your 3rd house. So there is a real opportunity to come to some sort of benefit, reconciliation, some sort of epiphany that everything that you've experienced that feels challenging is actually serving this sense of yourself and this sense of owning yourself in a way that feels like you're celebrating. The 11th house is our hopes and our dreams. And, if for some reason someone told you, your standards are too high, you want too much, your wants and desires are unrealistic, you know what? That's the person who thinks small. So go ahead, continue those wide, broad thoughts, allow yourself that individuality. And I believe that you'll start to feel a sense of connection that you haven't felt before as you're allowing yourself to have broader experiences. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? The main things I wanted to talk about this. Oh, and Pluto. Pluto is, again, making a T-square to the nodes as they exit the Scorpio-Taurus axis. For you, Taurus is your 12th house, and that makes Scorpio your 6th house. So you're going to want to be mindful that the last bits of energy here for you, particularly Gemini, are offering you an opportunity to release karmic history, karmic patterns, karmic imprints, to surrender the enslavement of I should, I must, I have to, I need to, and start to implement I want to, I get to, I'm inspired by, I'm encouraged to, I'm motivated. And that's going to really start to change your outside experience. And that's where you'll be of your greatest service to others. And that will start to satisfy the South Node in Libra for you. Okay. All right, here we go. Cancer. The house of Leo is your 2nd house. And this retrograde could very much have you revisiting how you process money, how you work and make your money. I feel as if when I look at Aries being your 10th house and having Chiron going through the 10th house, you may have inadvertently been fearful of how people would respond to your unique and individual ways of being and making money. Cancer is a healing energy. It's the mother. And when a child is sick, they want to be in their mother's arms. There is a nurturing energy here. And I feel as if Venus's retrograde in your 2nd house is giving you an opportunity to revisit what makes you special, what makes you feel important, what makes you feel as if you're using your voice and your skills and your knowledge to help others. And I feel as if there's a potential with Aries being your 10th house for you to feel a sense of birthing your own individual self, your own passions, your own pioneering spirit. And while Libra is your 4th house, it will require you to be a bit egoless as to the opinion of others and give them an opportunity to benefit by experience your courage of the heart. I think this is super powerful. Again, we've got, the North Node entering Aries, where the Chiron has been for quite some time. So we're going to be ravenous to transform that wound into the gift. And I think that's what the Scorpio-Taurus axis has been doing, is preparing us for this shift to capitalize on what has been up until now considered a problem, will now end up being the manure that made our gardens grow. All right, Leo, Venus is in your 1st house. My goodness. Well, Mars is too for this month, but this retrograde in your 1st house is really going to give you an opportunity to step up and be brave. I'm excited for you because when I think about Aries being your 9th house, I think that you're going to rewrite your beliefs, because Chiron transiting through your 9th house has given you an opportunity to diversify, to broaden, to Leo's a fixed sign, and all the fixed signs don't shift easily. They have a certain way of thinking, and they continue to move that way. And yet at the same time, Chiron has been so benevolent in nudging you in a gentle way to be your unique self, to trust your heart, to have courage, to think if you think it's funny, somebody else will think it's funny. If the thing about Leo is that the idea of Leo and the sun ruling Leo and all that leadership. And then when you think about the idea of romance, romance is a freaking adventure, man. You don't know the other person. For the most part, romance is a big journey of the unseen. It's a big journey in our own expectations of what makes us feel valued and loved. And also it's an opportunity to see where, when someone else shines their light on us, we feel so full and so fresh. And then to sort of think, why don't I shine that light on myself? Because Venus being in your first house is giving you an opportunity to shine that light on yourself that then invites other people to come into this warmly lit, cozy room that's full of, yummy food and cozy pillows and joy and laughter and games and entertainment. So I really feel like as you're experiencing not only Venus's retrograde, but this very positive aspect to Chiron in this house that offers you a trip to a new land in your ideologies and what you believe about yourself and who you are. And then we'll see that as the nodes change axis and move into Libra, South Node moves into Libra, it's an opportunity for you to really foster harmony and diplomacy and to be aware of how you land on others. This is a little bit of a mind meld because Leo very much wants an audience to applaud its creativity. It's the performer. And yet sometimes in the fixed energy, you will be a little bit stubborn about, see it my way. And I really think that Libra third house is asking you to have a little bit more balance and be aware of how other people perceive things, not to change who and what you are and how you express yourself, but maybe for you to adjust your verbiage. I'm an Aries rising. I have Uranus in Leo, and I have Mercury in Scorpio. I can say very unexpected things to people, and I can be very loving and kind. And at the same time, I can be having somebody inadvertently think that they can push me around, or that I'm at their disposal, or that, and I can be very Aryan at that moment. I can be very, I don't think so. And my Uranus goes, Whoop. And the reason I say all of this is because I feel as if when you're authentic to your own real needs, rather than having this moment where the South Node in your house of siblings, of your conversations, of your thoughts and interactions with others about those thoughts, there's an opportunity for you to be your authentic self as you are expressing yourself in a way that creates a win-win. When I always tell my creative clients that when they're authentic to their own creativity, they're going to draw in people who appreciate that type of creativity. So it really doesn't matter what the creativity is. And I think this is another thing that we're seeing being offered to Leo, is that as your beliefs have shifted and you trust your individuality and you pioneer into new areas, you'll start to see that what falls away in the third house of relationships for you, meaning Libra, or in your networks, is because your vibration has shifted, and you will bring in a new group of people that will applaud your individuality, your creativity, and support your sense of individuality and leadership. So I think this is a very powerful period of time for you. All right, for our Virgos, Leo is your 12th house. This is everything to do with your self-worth. Venus is all about my self-worth, about my money. When we think about the things that Venus rules, she rules our money, she rules our beauty, she rules our creativity, she rules our home environment, the things we put within our home, the vases, the pillows, the blankets. All of these things underneath the surface represent how we feel about ourselves and how people perceive us. We drive a nice car, they perceive us as affluent or rich or doing well. So here for my Virgos, I think that you're going to have a revisit to what is really important to you. And, if we think about the idea that Pisces is your 6th house, we have Saturn opposing your sixth house. I'm sorry. Let me think about that for a second. Naturally, Virgo rules the sixth house and Saturn is in the sixth house. So that means that Saturn is in your first house. And so there is a feeling that the history of how you have shown up, the enslavement you feel both to your mind, to your duty, to the people you work for, your own health, all of these things are giving you it. Venus is retrograde in your 12th house, giving you an opportunity to identify a karmic imprint. And with the Virgo energy being the air and earth energy, so my mind is grounded in this earth experience. You may be telling the same story over and over again about your own self-worth, about your own ability to enjoy yourself, and it's a bad story. It's a story that doesn't work for you. It's a story that tethers you to an old dynamic, and this is a real opportunity to become aware. Not critical, but aware. So as Venus retrogrades and makes that trine to Chiron in Aries, which is your 8th house, you really can implement the transformation necessary for you to feel a sense of ease and fun and peace on this planet, rather than a sense of duty and obligation and having to go through a process. Of all the signs, Virgo rules the sign that serves other people. And when I think about that, it really feels like somebody left a chapter out, because we go from the sign of Leo, which is about expressing myself, to then serving other people. And the chapter they left out is that when you serve yourself, you are serving other people. You're giving them an experience that says, I'm not being selfish, I'm being authentic. And it's actually putting that other person who's imposing their agenda upon you on the selfish side, meaning they get to sit in the selfish seat and look at what they're doing when they ask you to give up your wants and desires. And I think this is super important for Virgo rising. Libra is going to be your second house, the second house of money and self-worth. And I feel as if that second house is also your skills and your voice. And as the South Node goes through that particular sign, I feel as if this is, this is beyond Venus's retrograde, okay? But with Venus retrograding in your 12th house, the epiphanies that you have, the awarenesses that you have that offer you the transformation to assert yourself in a way that realizes that when I am doing and being me, I'm actually in a hero energy. Aries is a hero energy. I always want to remind people of that. And then I bring that back into my second house, which is where I am egoless to the opinions of other people. And when I say egoless, I understand that sometimes in order to be a hero in my own life, I have to be a villain in yours. And that can come in our form of our family history and our long-term relationships. All right, let's go on to our Libras. Venus is retrograding in your 11th house of networks, of hopes and dreams, of large systems that operate almost, I think of the World Wide Web, I think of the nervous system. And I think that this is really going to give Libra an opportunity to feel her sense of expression there in the 11th house. This feels like a real, with Venus being there for such a long time, because she's going to retrograde till September and then she's going to move forward. So she'll be there till October. I think this is a real opportunity to go into your 11th house networks, your creativity, and to see and maybe fine tune. Maybe you cross pollinate. Maybe you've been on one platform of social media and now you're pollinating all over the place, but it feels very exciting to me. I'm not really worried too much about the trine to Chiron, because it feels as if that's in your 7th house. Those partnerships that you may have been making with people. Let's look at it this way, Libra. Your 11th house of Leo may see you expanding on some networks, shifting some networks, changing some partnerships, and not because you are unhappy, but because you have progressed into a place where it's time to step into a bigger opportunity. That's the way I want to put it, because we have Aries being your 7th house, and the Aries is the sign of the individual within a partnership house. So this might be taking more accountability, taking more leadership, allowing yourself the privilege of coming from behind and standing in an even footing with those in your life. I also want to offer this because we see the South Node moving into your 1st house. And I think this is where the egoless part, the South Node is asking is for you. Libra doesn't like to confront. Libra and Pisces would rather run away than to start an argument. And it's so funny because I'm a Libra sun and I'll start an argument any day of the week, but I'm an Aries rising. So there you go. But my point is this. Sometimes a little bit of asserting yourself is going to be required of you as you see that the value of asserting yourself. And this is using your Libra and Venusian diplomacy. But for the next year and a half, I think that the universe is going to be asking you to, how do you express yourself as an individual? How do you allow yourself, I always think of the South Node as such a spiritual point because it's where I look and where I've been trained to look for your soul's imprint. Your soul comes in with habits, beliefs, thoughts that it falls into, defaults to very easily. And the North Node is what we're stretching for. So in this dynamic, we are seeing the South Node going into your 1st house. So I think this is asking you to be egoless to the opinion of others while you express yourself as an individual. Because the North Node being in your 7th house makes me feel as if I want to be an individual within my partnership. And now we see Chiron has been going through your 7th house, offering you that transformation. Chiron was an amazingly wise centaur with healing abilities. He was a great warrior. He was a fair man. He was the only centaur that they allowed within the cities. They didn't think of him as like, the riffraff that lived out, like almost like a lot of the centaurs were like gypsies. They had to live on the outskirts of civilization. And yet Chiron was embraced. And the more he helped other people, the more he would feel his own wound chronically laying underneath all of his healing properties. When we can start to transform that wound into a tool that we need, a tool that we get to use to chisel out our own life, then it becomes a gift that we would never trade the wound for. So I think this is what's going on with Libra rising right now. I think this is really powerful. And I think as the nodes continued their journey through the Libra Aries axis, you're going to experience more levels of these opportunities to see yourself as a important component within all partnerships. Okay, Scorpio, Leo is your 10th house. As Venus goes into retrograde, she's going to have you revisiting what you feel about in the way of your career, your public status, your sense of leadership, your sense of, you may even find yourself feeling a sense of, when I think of the 10th house as naturally Capricorn, there's leadership. Leo is a natural leadership sign. And while the 10th house rules fun and pleasure, here I'm thinking that you could be revisiting how you make your money or how you allow yourself a period of enjoyment. And, I kind of want to put it this way, because Scorpio may enjoy reading detective novels. You may enjoy watching, plastic surgery shows or in delving into the occult, meaning studying the tarot or studying the runes or, even astrology. There could be a sense of Scorpio taking that deep psychological energy that you love with Venus's support in your 10th house. And now you're revisiting and fine-tuning how you want to express that and how you want to make your money. So I think that that's really powerful. And we have, of course, Chiron is again trining the Leo energy, and this is in your 6th house. So we're seeing this 6th house, 10th house is very much about work and service to other people. So I think that as the North Nodes enters your 6th house, you're going to be even more engaged, enrolled, more taking control and power over yourself, your public image, who and what you are. And I want to say this too, because we know your ruling planet has been making some very, very tense conversations to the nodal structure while it's been in Taurus and Scorpio, and will continue to have those conversations as it moves into those late degrees of the Aries Libra axis. I think this is a real kind of moment for you, Scorpio, to dream a little bit, to go into the deeper levels of your true happiness, and then ask yourself if you have been fostering things from the energy of your happiness, or because there's a sense of you feeling I'm going to say it, injustice. With Libra going into your 12th, or Libra being your 12th house, and the South Node going there may be a chronic feeling of injustice that has happened to you lifetime after lifetime. And now you're being asked to stretch a little bit into your Aries energy and to use your powerful co-creator Mars to be brave and courageous here. I think that Venus is giving you an opportunity to reinvent yourself in some ways. Reinvent yourself, and it will be very visible. Many people will see it. And I want to offer it this way because, you know, we talk a lot about Scorpio's intense, brooding, psychological, deep. You know, you can feel tall, dark, and handsome coming into the room when they're Scorpio. There's just a way that they walk in their energy. And I feel like this is really now a time for you to be aware of that power, the energy that others feel from you. And as you're aware of that energy, you can really transform it from being a little bit scary. No offense. We know that Pluto and Scorpio and Mars rule some of the more challenging dynamics of the human experience. And here now we can take it and we can transform it into something that feels comforting and feels engaging and inspiring. When we think about Scorpio, Scorpio rules intimacy and sex, and it doesn't rule just sex. It rules like that, you know, Kama Sutra type intermingling of bodies. And there's a great vulnerability to that. And when we feel that in our partnership, we become very dependent upon that. We surrender our vulnerability to that experience we've given of ourselves in some way. And I feel like, Scorpio, your awareness of how people have potentially given themselves to you in varying ways, not just sexually, but I think you're being called upon to look at a deeper psychological dynamic of how you land on other people. And this will give you a sense of power and control, but not in a negative and fear-based way, but more in an inspiring and encouraging way. So you become an uplifter versus somebody who people can fear at times. That's the way I want to put it. Okay, Sagittarius, Leo is your 9th house, and Venus will be going through your 9th house retrograde, giving you an opportunity to really diversify, to culturally diversify, to rewrite your ideologies, your beliefs, to even potentially think about revisiting some sort of educational course. It could be something like you're a singer and you decide to take a singing lessons, or you decide to classically train or do something a little bit different to work the various muscles in your throat. It could be a variety of things, but I want to offer it this way as well, because this is making a trine to your 5th house, and it could very much, meaning Chiron is in Aries in your 5th house, and this could completely change how you feel about romance and partnership. You may even potentially travel and meet a partner, or you could meet someone who's foreign to you. Now, when I say foreign, I don't necessarily mean everybody has to have an accent and live in another country. It's an experience that you're not familiar with. So you could meet somebody, if you've been always, dating a certain type of person. You may meet somebody completely new who brings in fresh, new ideas that inspires you. And I want to offer it this way because Venus and Chiron are making a trine. So initially you could bring in someone new and be very excited. And now we have this retrograde Venus, which is having you review the idea, your own self-worth may be coming up. Am I pretty enough? Do I make enough money? Am I, whatever the stories are. And this is an opportunity for you then to kind of ask yourself, am I asking those questions of myself because I'm observing how I'm approaching the romance? Is this person work for me, or am I more concerned about whether I'm attractive and viable to them? That's the way I want to put it, because I think Sagittarius, where there's a certain amount of awareness that comes in that then allows you to maybe own yourself a little bit more, or own who and what you are a little bit more, your hopes, your dreams. I'm seeing the Aries Libra axis is going to be on your 5th and 11th house. And when I look at Libra being your 11th house, I feel as if this is an opportunity for you to truly be a little bit more diplomatic with your journey. So if for some reason things have taken a little bit longer, you've taken a side eye, or you've been in relationships that didn't work out and you're still trying to find your person, this new sense of travel, of when I say travel, I don't just mean physically, I mean it psychologically, and I mean it philosophically and ideology wise, and the things that I learn, I incorporate them into my new experiences. So I think this is important for my Sagittarius, is because over the next year and a half or so, your hopes and dreams have an opportunity to live out loud when you are egoless to how other people are perceiving your happiness. One of the things about having Libra as the 11th house is it's kind of like an even larger audience. It chimes in about how you are, what you are, who you're, what you're doing and how you're presenting yourself. And I think this is really more about allowing that Aries individuality to say, this is who I am. If you don't like me, change the channel. If you don't like me, unsubscribe. I don't need to hear your snotty comments. Just do your thing. Because I feel like that as you do that, there's going to be an opportunity for more expansion of wealth, more expansion of excitement and joy, because then I go to the idea that Taurus is your 6th house. And so as these things shift, you may implement all of that into your work environment and find yourself actually thriving much more. I guess I kind of want to round it out by saying this. Every once in a while, you'll watch some, or I will watch some television show, usually they're home makeover shows, and somebody is just so outside the box. They're super colorful, they do bright colors in every room, not my particular taste, but they're on television and they're considered an expert. And so what I observe is that everybody has their own sense of creativity, and that creativity will find an audience once it's given a platform. Sagittarius, that's what I think is happening for you. And while the 5th house can also be romance, for some reason I'm going to creativity and birthing that into the work environment where you could potentially make money from it. Okay, Capricorn, the house of Leo is your 8th house. Venus is going to go through the transformational 8th house. And this is very interesting to me because I feel like as I say that, Capricorn, it's like a stretch for you to truly allow for just hanging out and frivolous time, doing the crossword puzzle, playing checkers, laying out on the beach or by the pool or going for a hike. And this is where Venus is retrograde in the 8th house is going to give you a wonderful opportunity to say, oh, wait a minute, maybe I need to rejuvenate. Maybe my body actually needs to rejuvenate so that I have the energy to move forward more efficiently. That's the way I want to put it. Aries is your 4th house. And so we're seeing Chiron transiting the house that could potentially have made you feel as if your individuality was not appreciated, your spunk, your tenacity, your endurance, your sense of following the rules might have been you might have fostered that because your home environment was a little fiery. It could have even been where your home environment was a military environment and you were constantly moving around. And so the only way that you felt connected was to have a sense of your own work and what you do, Capricorn, moving yourself forward. And I want to offer this too, because the eighth house interacts with other people. Leo is the audience that we need in order for our self-expression to be seen. So this could be an opportunity for you to start to feel that sense of transformation as you express the more joyful sides of yourself versus the dutiful sides of yourself. This is interesting too, because Libra is your 10th house. So on some level, as you are not always maybe available for the work chores, you're not always available to, help out others, do whatever dutiful things they need. Sorry, I'm on vacation. The 10th house is Libra. So it could be very visible to others, a shift in you, which I already think has been happening as Pluto's been transiting your first house. But at the same time, I still think you're standing in leadership because now you're showing balance between work and play. And I feel like Aries in your fourth house Chiron traversing your fourth house could very much make you aware of some childhood dynamics that may no longer be in play, but their influence has been sitting underneath so many of your decisions. And as you become more and more aware of that, the Leo 8th house transformation offers you an opportunity to stand in leadership for the balance of work-play life. That's the way I want to put it. I think it's really important for my Capricorns to surrender to enjoyment, to practice seeing a wisdom in the work of play. Work of play. I hope that made sense. Aquarius, Leo is your 7th house. All about partnerships. Your Venus retrograding this house, I think, could potentially have you revisiting your intimate partnerships, of course, but I also think that it may have you looking very much at your professional partnerships or the people that you interact with on a professional level. I say that because Aries is your 3rd house. The 3rd house rules our neighborhoods, our teammates, our workmates, our thoughts, our speech, and our communications with others, getting those work emails out. And I feel as if there's the potential that as Chiron has moved through your 3rd house, it's had you start to individualize from some of the people that no longer vibrate at the same frequency that you do. As the North Node moves into the 3rd house and the South Node moves into Libra, your 9th house, I feel as if there's a part of you that is going to be called on to be more aware of how your energy lands on other people. Aquarius can be futuristic, can think so far outside the box that it almost doesn't really see the individual. And so here we're seeing Aries, the individual, your 3rd house. I feel as if you're going to be required by your South Node, 9th house, to diverse, to be broader in how you perceive or connect with other people experiencing your energy. There's a sense of genius attached to Aquarius. There's a sense of, every time I say the word genius, I think of Einstein. And then I think of how this man probably spent hours and hours by himself in a room. And I don't know if I would think that I don't know him personally, maybe he was very socially adept, but those that tend to spend a lot of time alone are not as socially always aware of their energy on other people because they're thinking about, whatever's going on in their head. My point is this. I think that when it comes to your house of partnerships. And again, I'm kind of going to the idea of more professional partnerships, the partnerships where you interact with people other than your loved one. Because of that Aries third house, Chiron being the wound in your third house, you may have not been seen for all of your genius, but part of that is because you're so thinking above the fray that there could be a lack of relatability with the everyday guy, the everyday Joe. So here, I think that this is going to give you an awareness of that, which will help create a bridge between the broad thought of the ninth house and the more everyday thoughts of the third house. That is the axis you will be living on for the next year and a half, to see and to integrate and almost to recognize the need for both dynamics, both the detail of the third house and the broadness and expansiveness of the ninth house. And there's a part of you that may inadvertently be so smart that you have the answer up here before those around you connect to it. And what you're going to get to experience is giving them the grace to figure it out for themselves while holding space for the relationship. So it feels a little bit more connected, more. People see you more as the leader versus the disruptor. That's where I'm going with that. Okay, and now my Pisces. Leo is your sixth house. This is the house of service to others. It is the house of health. It is the house of our pets. I believe that this is an opportunity for you to really start to integrate and to, I'm going to only focus on the high side of Pisces. I'm not going to go to the escapism, the alcoholism, the drug abuse, the insane asylums, and all that nonsense. I mean, not that it's nonsense, but I'm really connecting with the idea that people that find my videos are already on a frequency and a vibration of intention. And so here I'm going to tell you, as Saturn has moved into your first house, Saturn is absolutely requiring your intention to create sustainable things. And part of that is sustainable work. And as Venus goes through your sixth house, you really get to dig in deep into your service to others. Maybe it's health related. Maybe you are a healer, but you are also an artist, an imagination, or a visionary in many ways. You have an ability to throw a wide net into the creative world and really uplift and heal others through song, through dance, through poetry, through your musings. So I think this Venus retrograde through your sixth house is literally asking you to be brave, not to run away or try to escape your creativity, but to allow it to be birthed. And the house of Aries is your second house of money. So as you use your skills to individualize yourself, you have an opportunity to truly start to make some resources, some cash, something you can hang your hat on in the way of putting it in the bank. And now we see Libra being the eighth house. So here, this is where Pisces, you're being tasked to individualize, not to go back and depend on other people to hold you up or to financially support you or to be the power underneath the power. This is about you being the power. This is about you being the confident, creative being that you are and embracing the journey of that creativity, which is an ebb and a flow. It's an up and a down and an all around. And as you build it, your audience will come. And I want to offer this too, because I used to work in Hollywood for many, many years. And almost on a daily basis, you would see the writers all get up out of the room at about 2:00 after they had their lunch sleepy time where they ate and they got all tired. They would go walk the lot. And they would just walk and talk about the characters, talk about not necessarily the story they were working on, but fleshing out broader concepts of the idea in general. And so by the time they got back to the writer's room, they were all inspired and ready to roll. So allow yourself the privilege of a little bit of downtime, using that house of Leo, your sixth house, to serve yourself, to replenish your health, to take care of what you need, to eat good food, and then to allow yourself a little bit of a wide berth when it comes to your creativity. Trying to not be a perfectionist with your creativity, but to be more of a little bit of coloring outside the lines. Because as Aries is your second house, your individuality will be the key to your connection to others. I mean, this is individual creativity. It's not saying you can't have a partnership, but your individual contribution would be very important. And as we see Libra being your 8th house, this is going to be an opportunity to actually, this is where I think you could make money from other people who buy your creations. You don't realize it now, but it's not just people who give us money or where we inherit money. It can also be your clients, it can be your patrons, it can be your customers. So I really, really want to offer this. And again, I know Saturn is going through your 1st house, Pisces. Not an easy energy, because Saturn feels kind of depressing at first. But as Saturn retrogrades and your 6th house Venus is retrograding, this gives you an opportunity to really sink in to the idea that your individuality is part of your bounty. And now, rather than vacillating whether you're good enough or not, Saturn's saying, just stay the course. Don't worry about whether you think you're good enough right now. Just stay the course. You get to be authentic to your own appetites, your own desires, your own musings. And as you do that, Saturn will start to reward you as it brings in people that honor and abide and applaud your individual creations. So I think this is really, really powerful overall. Again, this Venus retrograde for me was so important because it's in the house of leadership and self-expression. It's going to be there for 4 months. She hasn't done that in a very long time. And she's going to be making a positive aspect to our personal wounds. And that is going to give us an opportunity to transform those wounds into a gift. And that gift will be our greatest opportunity to experience life in a new way. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back next Sunday. I believe that is July 9th, live at 11 a.m. Pacific time to do my angel readings every Sunday. So the angels, we get the advice from the angels for traversing the transits for the week ahead. Here we just did an overview of July, which is again another pivotal month in a series of pivotal months that are like dominoes, knocking down the obstacles and opening doors for our futures. So thank you so much. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. If you'd like to get an astrology reading from me, my information is below in the description, and you can contact me and I will send you information and rates. Thanks so much, everybody. I'll see you soon. Peace out.